Man City bringing in Jack Grealish to add to the
Not comparable. You don't get.
No,
you don't.
cannot compare
You
Grealish
don't
and
get to
Ronaldo.
put those two names in the same sentence.
I'm not comparing them.
That's an unforgivable sentence. I don't even think he's going to be great, but that is disgusting.
No,
He's disgusting.
You're putting opinions out there.
You know what? Jack Grealish is just an overpriced Fred.
All right. Okay, we good? Matt, you good?
Yeah, we're good.
Anthony, good?
I think so, yeah.
Little soft, move like a little closer if possible.
I think so.
Welcome to Secure the Bag.
These nuts.
My name is Jackson.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just get one in.
Hey everyone, welcome to Secure the Bag. My name's Jackson. Best mate Matt. Local homosexual Anthony. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Secure the Bag. My name is Jackson. I'm joined here with Matt and Anthony once again. And today we're hitting the hard questions. Are Liverpool still title contenders? Why is Arteta still in a job? Why was the Argentina-Brazil game suspended? And are all Hungary fans racist pigs?
Oh, we're not all pigs. We're not all pigs.
Save your chat for the conversation, Anthony. Stay tuned, everyone, later on in the vid as we discuss all these topics. But let's get straight into it. And wherever you're watching us, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, let's get straight into the game reactions, boys. It's been a while. We were on hiatus, but I'm sure we all have fond memories of the last game week.
Oh, decently fond memories, yeah.
Okay memories. Okay, I wouldn't call them wet, but okay memories.
Some games better than others.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I heard there was a really controversial call in one game. I heard that someone handballed a goal like a Suarez moment and stopped a goal happening.
I think they did.
No, look, I don't agree with that. I reckon it's hit his knee first and then gone up into his hand. But the way that VAR's paused the frame of the video, it looks like it's just contacted his hand straight. And now the Premier League are doing some weird things where they don't actually show the replays of certain things like injuries or handballs and stuff like this now. So
it's all a conspiracy, huh?
Yeah, it's all a conspiracy against. I mean, like,
and just for context for anyone who hasn't seen it, this is Liverpool 1, Chelsea 1. This is Reece James stopping a goal with knee then hand and getting sent off for a red. Go on, Matt.
Yeah, so like Jackson said, Reece James back post ball's taken a shot at the goal. He's put his knee out. It's hit his knee, then contacted his hand and dropped down onto the floor. Referees put a VAR review and it's gone to a penalty. And then penalty's obviously been scored. Reece James has been sent off with a straight red. And Chelsea's been handed a 25k fines for failing to control their players, i.e. Antonio Rudiger and Benjamin Mendy. But
bloody crazy players, I'm telling you.
I think that's a little rough. I think the fine's a bit rough. I don't think there was obviously the incident where he tried to scuff up the penalty spot and then Mendy kicking the ball away and then throwing the ball away. I don't think that's worth a 25k fine.
No.
Ever. I do think it was a handball though, just to squash a conspiracy theory. I think it was a handball. I think there were more blatant penalties and more blatant errors in the game, but I think the 1-1 draw was very deserved for both teams. I think either of the teams are on their game. I think Chelsea, I don't know how Liverpool or Chelsea beat each other at this stage. I feel like they're very equally balanced teams.
I don't know. I think Liverpool should have come out of that game disappointed that they only got a 1-1 draw against the 10-man Chelsea. That says to me how good Chelsea's defense is. Like, we've been praising Rudiger for a long time. Like, Lampard hated him, but Rudiger is a great player. As Piliqueta, absolute leader. I mean, and take into account Reece James, who, you know, he can attack when he wants to, but he's one of those old-fashioned, really strong, physically strong, but also very clever fullbacks who's just going to block out every run made by a winger on that side of the pitch. We rate him. We rate him high.
We rate him. I think Liverpool fans definitely do have it worse. right? Liverpool should have come away with that with a victory. And we're going to touch on it a bit later. If you stick around, we're going to be talking about Liverpool and their title chances. But I think Chelsea, the way they've conducted business, this transfer and their hype after just winning the Champions League, and Liverpool's really a colossal failure of a last season, which I think we can all agree on. I think not colossal, but it was a failure by no stretch of the imagination. It was a failure. Very, very much underperformed. I think Liverpool have the filthier fans, but I think Chelsea, after coming off winning the Champions League, after having 2 really good first game weeks, or a really good start to the season, I think both fans and managers and players alike, I think they really both should have pulled something out of the bag, and ultimately I think a draw was deserved, honestly.
Yeah, look, I was watching the game. I was a bit disappointed. Obviously, I think Chelsea was going to win. No bias to my team, but I do believe that we have to give a quick mention to Benjamin Mendy before we move on to the next game. Being one man down, second half, producing some of the saves he did against Liverpool's pressing attack was well deserved to keep that one goal from the penalty during that game.
Yeah, 10 men's never easy. Never easy to control 10 men.
There were a couple attempts at wellies from Liverpool, and Benjamin Mendy just cool as a cucumber, gets his hand onto it and puts it out for a corner, or follows it to the post and lets it go over for a goal kick. I mean,
yeah, correct.
He played superb.
Yeah, I mean, and Jackson, that's not the only draw of this tie, was it? Not the only draw of the game.
Hey, West Ham earned our draw by being shit, all right? Not by any red card or penalty. Okay? We earned our draw, all right? By being Palace, tragically bad. They're a bogey team, though. They're a bogey team, though. We actually lose a lot of matches against Palace. You'd be surprised. I think in 9-10 meetings against Crystal Palace, we've won 2.
That's poor.
Yeah, but they're a bogey team, and this
poor.
time we drew. Yeah, big European side. What can we do? I mean, if I do single out one person, it's Dawson. He was really good last season. That's why we turned his loan into a permanent deal. But he looked bang average, and there's no doubt for me he's being replaced by Kurt Zuma in this coming game. I mean, Matt, is Kurt Zuma a fast player? Kurt Zuma is a quick. He's 26 years old, and I think we'd be calling him faster than Dawson or what it was. He's got pace. I'd be right.
He's got pace, and with his height and his body, so his build, he's tall. I think he's about 6'4", and he's got long limbs. So there's no doubt. Even combining that with speed, he just covers way more of the pitch than what Dawson will be able to.
Yeah, and don't forget Kurt Zuma's magical run when he was back playing for Chelsea. His magical run taken from his own nearly his own penalty box.
Yeah, 100%.
2/3 up the way of the pitch.
That's
goal
true.
At the end of that would have been perfect, but yeah, that kind of showcases his ability to run with the ball.
Yeah, and we don't. We need him because Cresswell's slow, Dawson's slow, Ogbona's slow. Diop is quicker, but he's got like a weird 50% of the time he makes the right decision. The other 50 he completely fucks the situation. He can really mess shit up, which is why he's on the bench for under Moyes these days. But I mean, personally, though, it was another brilliant Antonio performance and another brilliant Benrahma performance. What's to be said?
I was just about to say Antonio's killing it in the goals and assist department. Benrahma I actually didn't rate before the start of the season. I never rated him. I didn't think he was going to perform very well at all, and he's outshone my expectations. I don't know about you guys.
I would agree.
He's great.
Yeah.
Apparently, so in his last 7 matches, he's gotten a goal or an assist in every single game.
That's unbelievable. That's really and that's kind of play you need going into Europe as well in this season.
Yeah,
you need
exactly.
a consistent performer. You need your Messi. You need your player that's going to just either pick up the team or provide that really crucial assist in the dying minutes of the game. And I think Benrahma's probably is looking to be that guy for you right now because, as we all know, Antonio is an injury liability.
Yeah,
he's going to be injured, and that's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Yeah,
so
I think
you need that player like Benrahma.
We do. But hey, we can't just talk about one shit defense. We need to talk about another defense that somehow managed to get away with being terrible. I think that's what needs to be brought up, Anthony.
I
Can
think
we have that discussion there?
I think we all know where this is going.
Have
Wolves,
this discussion.
United, Fred, almost 3 goals in the first 15 minutes from arguably one of the worst midfielders to get put onto the team that day. But, we watched it live, me, Anthony, and Jackson as well. So I just want to, I heard Anthony's live commentary about Fred being put into the team and then some of his decisions in the game, especially against Adama Traore. So, Anthony, if you'd like to repeat
Adama Traore looked like fucking Messi. He looked as lethal as Messi on his best day. I was shocked, right? That man, and I understand now why why they want such a big price for him, and they're really reluctant to let him go. He's fantastic. He carried that team. And Fred, you touched on it. If we had conceded those goals, and I believe it was Wan-Bissaka on the byline, if Wan-Bissaka hadn't have been there and De Gea wasn't having such a good game, we would have been in a really, really bad position. And we didn't deserve that 1-0, I think. And I was saying to you guys before the game started, I think that was actually nearly our best 11.
Yeah,
right? I think that was arguably maybe Fred, probably not, right? Maybe so Fred instead of McTominay instead of Fred, sorry. That was our best 11. That really was.
Yeah, I just want to rattle off some stats for you as well in terms of shots in the game.
Me.
I mean, Wolves 15 shots, 6 on target. United 10 shots, 3 on target. United had 56% possession compared to Wolves 44. United had them on passes 552 to 427. Other than that, it's pretty even game in terms of everything else. It's just that
it was an even game.
Those shot attempts and those shot on goals, especially in the early parts of that game, were really, really good looks. Really good looks. And
take them with a grain of salt.
And De Gea, like you said before, you guys 3-0 down, 4-0 down even.
Yeah, and take them, as I was about to say, take them with a grain of salt, right? 3 of those were Fred's fault. Right?
Yep.
3 of those were just one player's fault. And I actually think Fred can be good on his day. Maybe not. I was going to say maybe not against a team like Wolves, but if you can't deploy him against Wolves, I don't know how you deploy him. I think with this introduction of Ronaldo, and he's pretty well demanding to play this in this coming game, and I think he will, and we'll get into a hot take later. But I think with the introduction of Ronaldo with goals, because Sancho's obviously not doing well. Something's wrong with Sancho. Something's wrong with him. Watching him, I think he struggled to get on the ball. He's not being risky. And I think, Jackson, you made a really good point while we were watching it, if you want to elaborate in a second. He's not taking the way that Sancho plays. He's a really experimental and he's a really good dribbler of the ball. He just needs to take more of a risk. And I don't think Ollie's told him to be contained. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's definitely, Ollie doesn't strike me as very aggressive or experimental manager. I think he's very concerned. Like, he doesn't have the security that another manager might have to take those sort of risks. So I absolutely think he tells his wingers to be much more careful with how they play. It's why the counter-attacking football suits him so well. But, on Sancho, a wise man once said, if it looks like shit, smells like shit, it's probably shit. And Sancho counts as all of the above. Like, it's a major flop on the way.
I'm going to agree with you at this stage. He's got the number 7 curse and he's not even number 7.
Yeah, crazy. But, we'll give him time. We'll give him time, though.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's still too early.
Yeah. It was his first full game, right? And it's his first game not coming off the bench. And I think for a first game, he didn't score. But, he wasn't the worst player on the pitch. By any means. And that's all you can ask for, really. It's not all you can ask for nearly 100 mil.
But absolutely.
At a bare minimum, he wasn't the worst on the pitch.
No.
And congratulations, Fred.
I'd like to pose a quick question to you boys before we jump on to one of our talking points of the podcast. So Mason Green, saviour of the game for Man United. When Ronaldo gets input into the team and Greenwood goes to the bench, do you see Ronaldo still being the saviour of the game, even if the team is performing like they did in this game against Wolves? Just a quick question. Thoughts off the top of your head?
Yeah, he definitely will be. He'll replace Mason Greenwood, but I think with Rashford still injured, it's going to take a bit of time to nurse the injury back to life. Maybe come off the bench. I think Greenwood slots into that spot.
Yeah, he'll go somewhere else into that front three for now.
Yeah, Sancho's able to play on both sides as well.
Yeah,
Not well, but he can play on both sides. I think they're all versatile. So
that's fine. They'll manage. I think that Mason Greenwood will find himself game time, unlike Jesse Lingard. But yeah, we do need to talk about another game of that game week now. Man City 5, Arsenal 0. Yep. Got some thoughts on this one? I've got some few thoughts on this one, but yeah, what do you reckon, lads? What are we dealing with here? Disaster,
Oh, mate. I would say it's a disaster, but I'd say it's an expected disaster. I mean, Arsenal, the way they're positioned this season, giving Arteta 5 games left to prove himself, to see if they can possibly get a win, get a draw, get something to see if he stays at the club. I mean, the likes of Man City and their firepower, especially the way Gabriel Jesus has been playing over the past couple of weeks, his assists, his goals, him being in that, I think he's found his position at United, at City now, sorry. He's not really in that striking role like we know him to be a striker. He's more on the wing now, providing those assists, which had been working for him. But yeah, I guess, Arsenal, it was an expected disappointment.
It was expected. It was very, very expected. Right?
Not within 7 minutes, though. Not with they were down 7 minutes into the game. They actually were quite defensively solid for large parts of last season. Like, they actually had, I think, the third least goals conceded of any team behind Chelsea and Manchester City in terms of, like, how good the defense was. They just weren't scoring. They were just awful at scoring. Like, Aubameyang and Lacazette had awful seasons where they looked like basic $10 a season strikers. Yeah. But that team looked shocking defensively. Like, other than Fiorentini, there's no one else there.
No, Rob Holding really dropped the ball, especially in that first goal, I think it was. Leno should have done way better than he did. Leno, I actually think Ramsdale's nearly in for a shout of starting over that performance. That was disgusting.
They should have kept Matt Ryan. At Arsenal. He would have done a good bit for them.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have been happy with that performance watching that, I promise you. Or he might have been, actually. He's got treated pretty poorly. He might have been happy. But Arsenal failed, and you touched on before, their offense. They failed to have a single shot on target during the entire match. Not a single shot. Yeah, and those first 7 minutes, they didn't play badly for those first 7 minutes. That is just, as soon as they can see it, they crumbled. And Ferran Torres, 2 goals, easily best player on the pitch. But it's just, and with the 80.4% possession and the 14 corners to Arsenal's 0, there's no doubt in my mind that Man City were going to win comfortably. But those stats there, they really prove how lethal Manchester City is and how far apart the competition is. I mean, I know, and we spoke about it on the NRL podcast, OT, go back and watch that if you haven't, boys. But there's such a huge distance between the top teams and the bottom teams, all right? Manchester City is equal to the NRL Storm, right? And there's such a disconnect between, and Arsenal once great, but there's such a disconnect between Manchester City and everybody. And it's really hard to see how some of these teams like Arsenal, even Arsenal, I really struggle to see how they're even going to come close to a top 3, top 4 finish, if not be relegated.
That's the thing, right? It's like Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United. None of them are going to beat Arsenal 5-0.
No,
none of those teams are going to beat Arsenal 5-0, but Man City can do that because I don't think this Man City team is as good as it was with the Centurions, 17-18. When Sane, Sterling, Aguero were all up there playing. This is a lesser team.
It is a lesser
and the machine is clunkier, but it works sometimes. Like, I don't think Grealish is as good as the players they had. I don't think Rodri will be as good as Fernandinho was, but the machine still works.
Credit to Pep, though. Credit to Pep. Because I was actually watching highlights of his old Barcelona career when they dismantled Real Madrid 5-0. And at the Santiago Bernabeu, it's reminiscent of those days at the moment, especially when they're playing against Arsenal. It's really that philosophy is coming through, because it's not just scrap and route one football where they pump it up the pitch. They're playing technically good football, really technically good football.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's reflected in the stats. I mean, the stats that Anthony listed off before, and the main stat I think that should be highlighted this game, that I'm not quite sure if Anthony said it. I think he said Arsenal with one shot all game, but Manchester City 25 shots, 10 on target. I mean, 5 goals out of 10 on target. That's 50% conversion rate.
Unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
Matt, did you have any thoughts on because I know I want to bring it up to all of you guys, and I think it's a really big talking point. That Xhaka red card. 2-foot lunge in on Cancelo.
Look,
that's huge.
It's a huge call. 2-foot lunge in, but as soon as studs go up on a player, as soon as studs go up on a challenge, I mean that's a red card in my opinion.
I got a little interesting tidbit about this actually. So since Arteta came into Arsenal November 2019, Arsenal have gotten more red cards than any other team in the Premier League in that time period. You can see that he's got no control over this team. This team is full of angry, like demoralized players who don't care about the club, who are just frustrated with how bad their football is, and they take it out on the pitch. And Jack is one of the worst offenders. I think like 4 cards in it since 2016. He's a prime offender.
Yeah, it's quite, and it's really obvious that they are starting to get really pissed off because they've lost their first 3 games in the season without scoring a goal, without scoring a single goal for the first time ever.
Yep, for the first time ever. What a disgrace.
What a statistic, right? The more you think about it, the crazier it is. They haven't scored a goal, and they've played some really shitty teams. They have played some subpar teams. And this coming week, I know we're going to touch on it again later, stick around, but Norwich, I think they could do the same against Norwich.
Yeah. Keep an eye out on that big 6-pointer. This is a real battle to avoid the relegation drop this season. Keep an eye on it.
It is. I saw a meme the other day, and you had to accept cookies to be able to see Arsenal's name on the table.
Yeah, I saw that as well. That was a top quality meme.
We'll put that meme up now if you're on YouTube. Have a look at that. That's good quality banter. We all love a bit of anti-Arsenal banter.
It's great banter.
But we'll have to leave them behind for now. We've beat a dead horse a bit much, and we'll move on to talking about how incompetent international football is right now. Now, we all have our different examples of why football governance is a disgrace. You could talk about Qatar, talk about the Hungary incident, which we'll get to. But for me, what happened with Argentina and Brazil recently was bizarre.
It was bizarre.
And we're all aware of this incident, right? We all know what happened here. Do we all know the background behind this one? Because this is a bit wild.
Yeah, of course. Give our listeners the rundown.
So what's happened is that Argentina and Brazil are facing each other in the World Cup qualifiers, and what's happened is a couple Premier League players, 4 Premier League players who did go to the game playing for Argentina. So I think Christian Romero was there, Emiliano Martinez was there, and Emiliano Buendia was there from Aston Villa. And they've lied on their pre-flight declarations. And rather than stopping the game beforehand, the Brazilian health authorities have stormed into the game as it's going and suspended it.
Only a few minutes into the game.
Only a few minutes into the game.
Yeah.
And I would also like to point out that I read something. It was a quote from Messi talking to, I think it was the match officials, and I think the reporters managed to get a glimpse of what he was saying. He was saying that Argentina had arrived, I think it was 3 to 5 days before the game actually started. So he was questioning FIFA as to why they waited this long to come and apprehend the players
Absolutely.
for the game to actually start. Like, is it is it supposed to reflect negatively on the country or on the players?
Yeah. You'd think that Brazil would be more on top of this, considering like over 500,000 Brazilians have died from COVID, and they just weren't on top of this. Is there some motivation I'm missing here for why this didn't happen earlier? I'm just baffled.
Yeah, and I think there are so many sanctions now in place in globally. It's going to be tough to play international football.
Yeah,
it just will. It really will. But,
yeah,
and I think that's going to impact domestic leagues as well, because now you've got Martinez, Romero, Lo Celso. That all these players can't play in the Premier League.
And not even that. The Brazilians are now furious. They're absolutely furious. And what they've told FIFA is that, you know, after the Premier League refused to give us our players, but the Argentines still got theirs, we want no Brazilian players to play in this weekend of the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly. So
and that's going to hurt teams. That's going to hurt teams.
I believe Liverpool has Alisson, Fabinho, and Bobby Firmino out.
Mm-hmm.
Man City, Ederson, and Gabriel Jesus. Fred's out from Manchester United, but it's not really a big loss for them. And I believe Thiago Silva was the other player for Chelsea out, as well as those players previously listed by Jackson. And I think Giovanni Lo Celso from Tottenham was also that you might have missed out on.
And that's not even the limit. Other teams are reacting as well. So, like, Brazil's got furious, but so is Chile, Mexico, and Paraguay. So now, I think Raul Jimenez might not be able to play for Wolves. Almiron for Newcastle might not be able to play. Like, this is just going to cause chaos this weekend. We could see Liverpool and Manchester City with some of the best defenses in the league just be terrible this weekend.
Absolutely.
Because key players are gone.
Don't forget the King Fred.
Yeah. Oh, it's a terrible loss.
United's best player, you know.
United's best player.
Yeah. What am I going to do without the footstool for all my insults? It's crazy. I'll be there for a week.
I think look, I understand if they did falsify their documents and their declarations that they did falsify. That's really bad. Messi had a good point. They've waited that long. Why did they come now? Mm-hmm. But again, in a pandemic, in such a crazy time that we're in at the moment, especially in the football world, there's really no place for that. Again, it's a World Cup qualifier. I understand it's a big game. It's a Copa America replay. You know, it's a final replay. It's a huge game for them. One that neither team can afford to lose. Neither team could afford to lose that game. But that's the wrong way to go about it. Plain and simple, that's the wrong way to go about it.
They'll redo it though. They'll redo it some other time.
They're going to replay, but the fact that it's had to come to that is terrible, because now domestic, like, I love international football. Don't get me wrong. Massive Hungary supporter, not to that extent though. Massive Hungary supporter, watch all their games. But I love the domestic league equally, you know, or if not more. I love watching Manchester United, if not more than Hungary, most times.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to suffer. You're going to suffer. All these teams, all these fans are going to suffer. The teams are going to have to make adjustments, all because of international football. And I think international football is dying, honestly.
I don't know who you're talking about. I've got no players at fault for this one. You guys can suffer. I don't care. That's fine by me.
Matt's whole team can't play. Matt's whole team can't play.
Whoops.
Not that
there's some fantasy football implications of this as well. I really need to get on top of that. Actually, we got to look at how this affects fantasy football.
I am livid, right? I had Martinez in goal, doing quite well. I also have Foster as my backup goalkeeper, injured. So I'm running into this game week with 0 goalkeepers.
Lucky I don't have any Brazilian players or
any
players affected by these accusations and these events. So I'm sweet for the fantasy Premier League.
If you want to talk about the incompetence of football governance, though, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely.
So
Definitely.
I think we can talk about this and sort of get into this, beginning with the England-Hungary incident that occurred over the international break. Anthony, you're a Hungary supporter, pretty hardcore Hungary supporter, not that much.
Absolutely.
But
half
you have.
so.
What do you say? What do you say about that incident?
Again, I'm half Hungarian. I'm mother's full blood, so it's I did take what happened quite seriously, and I just want to speak on behalf of all the Hungary fans that aren't like this, that we're not all like that, right? And we do respect and we do love football, and we want to see Hungary back to our winning ways. It's the Pushkas award for a reason, right? We deserve to be up there with the best, but not if this happens. Not if this happens at all. I mean, you had monkey chants being directed at Sterling and Bellingham. You had homemade missiles, flares being thrown on the pitch. It was frankly disgusting. And I think in a couple of weeks we're going to be talking about racism in football as an OT, and I think everyone should tune to that because we're really going to go into that in depth. But I think it was a really shocking display from the Hungarian fans, and again, they were 4-0 down. They were playing shit. We played really terribly, but there is zero justification for that at all.
These are hardcore football fans. They're like, we know Eastern Europeans are big on this, but we can't tolerate this in the modern game.
There's no place for that, and I mean, they were booed before the kickoff. England fans were booed before the kickoff just for taking the knee, and we saw the same thing happen a few weeks ago in the Premier League, and it's slowly becoming, for want of a better word, a pandemic in football. It really is. Things are, and I mean, I know I don't want to take all the spotlight away from you guys, but it is worth mentioning that this isn't the first time the Hungarian fans have done something like this. They were already banned from events by UEFA, but because the World Cup's run by FIFA, technically they were still allowed in the stadium.
What a joke. It's buck passing. FIFA just refused to do anything about it. And UEFA was like, well, it's not our responsibility. FIFA runs those games. And FIFA's like, how could this have happened? How could Hungary fans have been racist?
I've been over to Hungary. I've watched them play international football at home. It's a really good atmosphere. I didn't see any of this, though. But I think, I mean, I wasn't looking out for it. On television, it's a lot easier to see, and there's some really good. I'll put some images up on the screen now for you guys that are watching on YouTube to see. Apologies, Spotify and Apple, but it's really glaring to see just the facial expressions of some of these Hungarian fans when Sterling's there after scoring. It's actually disgusting, and it makes me really upset to be a Hungarian supporter.
Yeah, I just like to also point out, like, you look at all this racism that's starting to, I guess, emerge. It's always been there, but it's starting to emerge into a spotlight now for, I guess, international sport as a whole. And you look at England specifically, it's been targeted. Like, it seems like time and time again. I mean, look at the Euro finals. Rashford, Sancho, Saka missed those penalties. They were targeted with racial abuse, slurs, you name it, everything under the sun. And now you look at the exact same squad almost getting sent to World Cup qualifiers, and the same thing's happening. I mean, like, these, I don't think fans get it. Like, I don't think they understand. Like, you know, equality's a right. It doesn't deserve credit. Like, there's things that you just don't do. Like, if you have bad thoughts, you keep them to yourselves, because sometimes like, it's best not to say anything than word out a lot.
Like,
that's a really good take.
Remember the Cloud from AFTV? Long-time fan, you know, very vocal, very active, but he said something about Son. He made a racist comment, and the reaction was incredibly harsh and strict. I think that was the right thing to do. I know some people will go, he said one wrong thing, but this is how we fight this stuff. Exactly. Yeah, you let one comment slide and more will go. You cannot allow any perception that this will be tolerated. Ever.
Yeah, and you've got to put it into the sorry, Matt. You've got to put it into the context of this is just a job for these people, right? It's nothing. They're just people. Right, I think we put, and it's the same thing as, like, super off topic, right? Look at Jonah Hill and how much he got berated for being, and just knocked down for being fat. right? In that surfing photo. Not going to put it on screen for you guys to see because I don't want to expose that kind of thing. But that image of where he was in his wetsuit and he got berated for that. He's just a person. Acting is his job. He's a public figure because he's good at what he does. The same with sports, right? They're just sports people. They're just people. They're just playing sport. That's how they make their money. And as soon as people stop thinking of them as these big, high and mighty things and godlike figures and entities, as soon as you normalize them and say, okay, they're just kicking a ball around a pitch. They're just kicking a ball around a pitch. They get paid a lot of money. They're public figures, but they're just doing their profession, right? Same as if you were to walk into any workplace and say those things randomly to somebody for doing it when they've done a bad job. There's no place for it. And as soon as you normalize these plays, it gives it a new meaning.
Yeah, it's just not on. And I mean, like you see players nowadays, they're starting to stand up a bit more. I mean, specifically that Hungary game, pelting glasses. I get obviously plastic glasses of beer at the players when they were celebrating in the corner. And you look at West Ham's Declan Rice, he picks up one of the glasses and starts pretending to drink it. He's just taking the piss out of them. Like, what? Yeah, you guys doing that, but it's not affecting us. You look at Poland's game recently. Robert Lewandowski, when the teams were taking a knee, they were getting booed. And they come up just before the kickoff, and Robert Lewandowski's pointing to the respect badge on the side side of his arm on the big screen. I mean, these players they've had enough of it now. They're starting to take a stand, and that's something that is going to be more prominent, I guess, in the next coming days, next coming months, and also the seasons, and I guess big major tournaments to come as well, because they're not going to stand for this.
No, absolutely not. And as I said before, Hungary went performing well. Hungary are performing well. It looks like we might miss out on the World Cup, but there's not a place for that. If we do, we do, right? That's not justification to get nasty. If we're playing badly, we're playing badly.
I have to specify, I love the hardcore football culture that is present in Eastern Europe. I love that.
The ultras,
I love that culture. There's sometimes when it goes extreme, but I love the passion. But you know what? This can be excised like a cancer. Racism just needs to be removed from that. You can have that culture of passion without the racism. And I think that's what has to be done in places like Hungary. And it has to have FIFA and UEFA being on the same goddamn page. It needs to be a
united front. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we can't trust these organizations, though. I mean, we've got to mention that FIFA are now trying to have a World Cup every 2 years. Like, they clearly don't care about the welfare of anyone. That's just a money grab. It's not on it. Who would have thought Arsene Wenger would be pulling rubbish like this?
It was not expected, especially bring that World Cup to every 2 years. So bi-yearly, you're looking at the value of a World Cup dropping drastically. I mean, World Cup always been every 4 years. You tie that in with also the Euros every other 2 years after that, and you've got the Olympics as well. And that just creates a massive problem when you've got another World Cup to worry about as well, more frequent World Cup. So then more injuries get produced. Domestic clubs start performing a bit more poorer because some of their key players are going to be out because they're going to have more demand internationally. And I mean, just to go back to what Jackson was saying about these ultras who are trying to stamp out racism from them. I mean, it's really been instilled to them from a young age, I would say. Like, you look at them and it's just stuff they've been exposed to growing up.
It's pure hate.
It's pure hate. And you look at all that and it's going to take time to get rid of that, because there's going to be some people, they've been ultras, they've been going to games since they were 4, 5, 6 years old. And they're now, in their 50s, their 60s, and they've been growing up and still with that same mentality. And it's going to take a while for that to change in some people. But I believe with the way the league's going and the way the players are starting to fight back, I reckon we can do it. It's going to be a united front, but we can do it eventually.
Yeah. But here's the thing: we're depending on that united front, and we were so dependent on it stopping the Super League.
We did it
earlier on. We did it, but think about this: a FIFA, look at all the examples. A FIFA that's willing to hold World Cups in a country like Qatar with its human rights record. A FIFA and UEFA that are incompetent at stamping out racism. A UEFA that is giving in and compromising with the rebel Super League clubs to the point where we're going to get a Super League anyway. We can't. Football governance is going down the drain. The only people who can say football are the fans and the representatives of the fans. Can't depend on football governance to protect football. Either incompetence or malicious, they will take it.
No, we can't. And it's a good thing that you mentioned incompetence because I want to just touch on the 2-year thing again. It's those international, it's those smaller teams that'll miss out with that, right? When you have competitions like, and this might help, not going to say it, don't worry about that. I think it helps the small teams play big teams in a competition where they otherwise wouldn't, like the World Cup. So you've got the Copa America where your Colombias and your Ecuadors, they have the chance to play these Brazils and Argentinas. And the Euros where you've got teams like Serbia and Czechoslovakia, or Czech Republic, sorry, they get to play these huge teams like France and Germany. That won't happen if you have a World Cup every 2 years. Because I'm not sure how you set up competitions anymore. I struggle to understand how anything works. So, and in having more international tournaments, I think you have more, with smaller teams being able to play big teams, I think that there's more competition, so everything raises, and I think that there's less hatred because teams will be performing better. I think, I don't really know where I'm going with this, in all honesty.
But the end point is that it's just a bad idea. And if we just push back at it, it won't happen. Let's just hope that the pushback's strong enough.
Yeah.
But enough about a kind of depressing international break for all the rubbish that's gone on in that period. I think it's time to look a little further ahead, look at the Premier League, and discuss the main topic of this episode, which is, are Liverpool still competing for the Premier League title? I know you guys have a little bit different opinion than mine. But what do you guys reckon?
Anthony, would you like to take the reins in this one first?
Sure. Not a huge Liverpool fan, and I know we definitely have different opinions. I think Liverpool have fallen off like no tomorrow. Like no tomorrow. I think Van Dijk is being really shaky, and he won't come back to the form he had 2 or 3 years ago when they did win the Premier League. I think the quality of Manchester United and Man City now, and even Chelsea, when Liverpool won the league, they have such better teams now, especially Chelsea and Man United for that fact. Both those two teams have such better squads than what they did when Liverpool won and just ran and mopped the floor with everyone. It really shows how shitty that year was for everybody else that wasn't Liverpool. Because you look at them, they won't do well in Europe. I can say that quite confidently that they won't do well in Europe because their squad isn't built for Europe anymore. I don't think. Bobby Firmino is missing. Salah's not having a great start to the Premier League. I think Mane's gone missing he goes missing quite regularly. More often than not, he goes missing. I think they didn't recruit well enough in the transfer window, which I think we should talk about a little bit. I think their transfer window was quite underwhelming for the amount of money that they should have. I think it's quite underwhelming. They got the players that they probably wanted, but probably not the players that they needed. I think they need to reinforce, especially up top. They need to reinforce the striker position.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
You know,
I think Diogo Jota is going to do great to replace Firmino in that side. He already got 15 goals for them last time round. I think he can continue to really perform.
He's not a world beater though.
But he'll get goals, and you know that I just disagree on the Virgil van Dijk opinion. I think that their defense now looks really, really good. I think Virgil looks as good as he was in the games that he's played. I think that Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson are going to get back to where they were, and I think that with Gomez, Matic, and now Kona and Nathaniel Phillips, there's real depth there that didn't have last time round. And when you think about that team, is basically the same team with some strengthening as went toe-to-toe with Man City to a strong mid-90s points finish. I think they're strong.
Just to voice my opinion as well, Jackson. Look, I tend to agree with Anthony. I think Liverpool have fallen off. I mean, just as Anthony mentioned before, Salah tends to go missing games. Mane tends to go missing. There's still sort of injury play, still sort of injury ridden. Some players are starting coming back from injury, and it's going to take time for them to get back to the form they were. Like Andy Robertson, the first game back from injury last week. I've got a hot take. I'm just going to say it now. I don't think Trent Alexander-Arnold is the best right back in the league or as good as everyone is making him out to be. I think he's just surrounded by a good team built by Jurgen Klopp. And also extending that a bit more, Virgil van Dijk, as Anthony said, not the player he was in 2019 when he finished second in the Ballon d'Or voting. I think those two players have really dropped off, and that is going to hurt Liverpool's chances of the title, especially considering that their attack has flaky parts, especially at the start of the season. Salah not performing in, I think it was second game week, getting that goal disallowed as well, and then going missing, I think the game after that as well, only getting 4 points on Fantasy Premier League. Like, you can't just rely on Harvey Elliott and Jordan Henderson to get your attack going, because like they're not going to be there every week. They're not going to be those solid plays you need.
Harvey Elliott
most of the time you see.
Yeah. Sorry, Harvey Elliott. I'll let you continue. Harvey Elliott is not a Premier League winning player.
No, he's not. And like you look at the likes of Jordan Henderson as well. Been at the club for quite a while, but he's not a starter half the time. Half the time, Klopp's getting him coming off the bench as well. Like he's not in there. When he's in there, he makes his impact, but he's not really in there that often. If you guys get what I mean. And
I know what you mean.
Some of their midfielders are starting to fall off. Like they got Thiago from Bayern. I think it was the start of last season, and they brought him there. They thought he was going to be really impactful. I mean, he hasn't done bits for them at all.
He's been bad.
I don't see them. Yeah.
I was going to touch on Thiago actually, because that's a really good point. Thiago's one of the players that when he was at Bayern, he was one of the best midfielders on earth. Oh, he really was. He really was. He was one of the best midfielders on earth when he was at Bayern. Again, surrounded by a really good team, but so he's surrounded by a really good team at Liverpool as well. A really good team that won the Champions League. You know, So there's similarities between them and Bayern. There's really big similarities between Liverpool and Bayern, especially in their style of play. So Thiago is that kind of player that's that kind of Premier League title player, but he flopped. He's flopped. He has.
The problem with that though is that everyone could have said that Fabinho was a flop for months after he joined Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp takes time. Yeah, but Jurgen Klopp takes time to bring players in. It's like you thought Ben Rama wouldn't perform for West. You didn't rate him for his first whole season.
No, I didn't.
Because you know why? Moyes didn't play him. He only brought him off on the bench, let him play a little bit, and now he's come into the new season from there looking a whole new player. Klopp is the same guy. Fabinho was brought in slowly. Diogo Jota brought in slowly. I would say Alcantara needs more time before I judge him because of the way Jurgen Klopp brings in these players. Give him more time. I think he will be a good signing. I just look at that Liverpool team. I see depth. I see incredible players on the pitch. I see a team that is still sort of demoralised from last season. But if they get to their winning ways, and I haven't seen a single game week where the team has looked bad so far. Like they went toe-to-toe with the champions of Europe. They won both of their other games quite comfortably, even if there were some poor moments like the disallowed goal. They keep winning and keep performing. That confidence returns, and they're going to get straight back in. I feel it. I feel it.
I mean, what you said before, they performed their season in 2019 when they won the league, and they had they were going up against the likes of Man City. I mean, but Man City, they've evolved their squad, like what Anthony said. Chelsea's evolved their squad. United's evolved their squad, and they've really brought in some heavy hitters, like United bringing in Ronaldo. Man City bringing in Jack Grealish to add to their
Not comparable. You don't get.
No, you cannot compare
you don't get to put those two names in the same sentence.
I'm not comparing them together.
That's an unforgivable sentence. I don't even think he's going to be great, but that is disgusting.
No, you're putting opinions out there.
You know what? Jack Grealish is just overpriced Fred.
He is. But I'm saying there's been some additions to these teams that will definitely make impacts. Chelsea bringing in Lukaku. They're not the same teams that they were with Chelsea having Tammy Abraham playing up front. So there's now you see Liverpool, they're going to struggle to defend these players. You look at Virgil van Dijk trying to defend Lukaku in our game we played against him. He couldn't keep up with him. He couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah, Matt. If I'm Virgil van Dijk, I'm terrified of Grealish scoring another goal with his crotch. I'm terrified, you know. I look at that and I go, that's a goal scorer. That's a terrifying goal scorer.
No, Matt's got a fantastic point. Matt's got a really good point. We touched on it before. Liverpool didn't strengthen it well enough. They got good players. Right? They strengthened their squad in depth. They needed star players to compete with Manchester City and Manchester United, and even Chelsea to an extent with Lukaku, because he is a star player. He performed fantastic, right? But Liverpool didn't sign a Lukaku or a Ronaldo, right? Even a Grealish would have been a star player, you know? They didn't sign their Ronaldo or Lukaku, and I think that's where Liverpool is lacking. Give Klopp all the time you want. He might win in a few years, but it's not a few years because in those few years you are going to fall off. Absolutely. If you don't sign star players, 2 years is a lifetime.
You've got to have the memory of a goldfish, though, to forget the kind of players that Mane, Salah are when their confidence is up. And if he gets their confidence up, they're going to be better players than Grealish, Ronaldo, and Lukaku.
Oh,
if he can they will win the league. They will win the league if those players get back in their form. I think Man United are more likely to fall out of the title race than Liverpool. Because if Klopp has a team, here's the thing. On paper, Manchester United's squad is comparable, if not slightly better than Liverpool's. But as a team, I rate what Klopp has at Liverpool. He's got to get their confidence up. Now, if they lose this game week, though, my opinion will drop. But if they win the next few games, I don't see them dropping out of this title race anytime soon.
Well, let me pose a question to you, Jackson. Sorry, Anthony. Let me pose a question to you. How long do you think Liverpool can keep up this winning way? Because, I mean, you look at Manchester United, you look at them bringing in Ronaldo and their young talents. You look at Sancho, you look at Greenwood, look at Rashford. Look at all those guys. In 2, 3, 4 years, they're going to be some of the best players in the league. Yeah. Like Manchester United have got that core with Bruno Fernandes as well. How do you think that this Liverpool team is going to compare and match up to them?
Yeah. I mean, let me say this: outside of Manchester City, there's only one team in the league that knows how to win it. It's Liverpool. Liverpool are the only team in the last almost half a decade, who actually have experience and know how to win a league outside of Man City. No one else knows how to do that. Ollie doesn't know how to do that. I don't think there's a manager outside of Liverpool and Manchester City who knows how to motivate a team to go all the way. Tuchel comes close third. Not in the league. You can motivate a team to have a good few performances in a knockout comp, but a league, that's different. I think Tuchel's a close third. I think Ollie has no idea.
Tuchel at PSG did bits.
Yeah, but that... No competitors makes it a lot easier. Yeah.
Is it? PSG didn't win the league last year.
Yeah, but that was bad. That's not because the competitors are good. That's because PSG were bad.
So there was a really good and interesting point that Matt raised and I want to talk about the transfers again. Just I know we're beating a dead horse, but I want to talk about that spine that you brought up. United are strengthening their squad via stars, right? They're bringing in these young talents and these really big names to not only go into the first team, but also strengthen for the future. Liverpool aren't doing that. So, again, Salah and Mane are two of the best players on earth when they're in form. You can't rely on Salah's 29. He's in his prime. 2 years, he's not going to. 2 years, he's not going to be in his prime. In 2 years, Sancho won't even be at the age to be in his prime yet.
That's true. That's true.
But if you don't sign those star players, those young star players like your Sanchos and I mean, Ronaldo doesn't count, right? But if you don't sign your players, if you don't sign the right players, you are just going to fall off. Sure, they might have a title push this year. They might have a title push even next year. But the way that their trajectory of not signing talent that can both slot into the first team and then so those they're not signing superstars that can slot in and future-proof the club. They're going to fall off in a few years, and you can't deny that.
But Salah and Mane don't have to give a crap what happens 4 years from now if they win the league this time around. They do not have to care.
They don't win the league.
They're in their prime. But I think they come closer to Manchester United because here's how this goes. You grab a few star players, throw them in your starting lineup. Sancho doesn't fire. It all goes horribly wrong. Ronaldo takes away from the team dynamic by demanding too much of the ball and undermining the goal-scoring potential of other people.
But he's got time.
Exactly.
Salah doesn't have time.
Well, what time? Ronaldo doesn't have time.
No,
He's not.
Sancho
might, but that won't help him this season. In the long term, there's no doubt that younger squad will help Manchester United in the future. But this season, a Sancho who's going to take his time, as you said, take his time to get into the swing of things, and that might not happen this season. Now, you've still got a midfield playing Matic. You said Harvey Elliott. You said Harvey Elliott's not a Premier League winning player, but Matic, brilliant, deserves another trophy.
Can we just
talk about Matic?
Can we talk about the inconsistency of Bobby Firmino then? If we're going to talk about inconsistent players, I mean, you put Bobby Firmino on that starting lineup. You think he's the starting striker on your Premier League winning team? He's fallen off drastically.
That is true.
That almost pushes because I was going to bring that up as well. That almost pushes them being a title contender. It almost pushes it over the edge for me, that Bobby Firmino factor. The fact that Thiago isn't firing still, and their midfield they don't have a star player in their midfield anymore. They're playing Harvey Elliott. The fact that they don't have that star player in their midfield like Thiago because he's at this stage is a flop because he's been given a season. And the fact that they don't have that star midfield playmaker that they need, and they don't have that striker that's going to perform unless you convert Salah into an out-and-out striker and buy a winger or deploy a winger or do something like a United formation change or a City formation change or something, that makes them that for me is what makes them a non-title winning squad because they don't have that firing power.
But
because Salah and Mane aren't firing at the moment.
I don't. They've played pretty well in their last few games. I see no issue with their scoring. They've shown they can break teams down and score every game. They haven't not scored a single game in their first three. That's not a bad record.
They haven't not
scored 5.
Exactly. But they have not scored a single game. But the goal they scored against Chelsea was a penalty. It was given to them. It was a penalty.
And
they had other worldies in that game, and Benjamin Mendy was just too class of a goalkeeper.
Great. But that's your title contenders. That is your direct competitor for the title, Chelsea, and you went toe to toe. Definitely 10 men, definitely easier, and probably should have won. But there's no sign for me that Liverpool look out of their element dealing with even a team like Chelsea. I mean, I'll agree. The good thing for them about Bobby Firmino is that Diogo Jota is replacing him for goals and replacing him in that team. Good on him. Yeah. I do agree with the star midfielder, though, but I will again say that Man United didn't get their star midfielder, Rice or Camavinga this time round.
That's true.
So every team's got holes. I'll agree that for both Manchester United and Liverpool, it's in the midfield. For me, that's where the holes are. Man City, kind of as well. I think an aging Fernandinho is a pretty dodgy midfield situation for City as well.
Yeah, I think City cover that basis better than Liverpool do at the moment, though.
Whereas I think Chelsea have the best midfield of any of the title contending teams. I agree. Jorginho, I rate Kante, and I rate Saul. I rate Saul. And
how do you say it, Matt?
Not
how
only that,
Matt?
How do you say it?
I mean, I agree with what Jackson said.
No. How do we say Sal?
Sal.
He's got it.
What's his last name?
I'm just a person.
Don't. That's cap.
Look, I think you're also forgetting. I think critically underrated Mateo Kovacic in the midfield as well.
Good player. He's not a goal scorer, but he opens up space.
Not a goal scorer, but just to bring focus back to Liverpool for a second, Jackson. I just want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
hypothetical situation. Diogo Jota goes down injured this season. Where are the goals coming? Where are the goals coming from if Salah and Mane start to fall off?
Well, that's the thing. They will have to pick up from there. And here's the thing. I am betting a lot of this on my belief that they get back to winning ways and the squad is going to put itself back together because all the same players are there. They've lost Genie Wijnaldum, but otherwise the squad's basically still there from when they went toe-to-toe with Man City. They have the experience. They know they can win the league. And I think that's unique of all the teams in the Premier League except City. But of like any team, they have holes in them. They're not perfect, but no team here is perfect, except maybe Man City.
They're pretty perfect. That's the thing. You just touched on it, though. You said they've got nearly the same team as they did when they won. Minus a couple of players and add a couple of squad players. Right? Maybe
but a defender. Not minus a lot of people, as much as you would have thought.
No, but Manchester City and United and Chelsea have bolstered their attack and defence and midfield, so they have the better squads that win title than when Liverpool won title. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think they're a title contender because they have strengthened.
I don't know if they have better squads than Liverpool when Liverpool come to strength. I really don't know. I mean, I've made my thoughts on Ronaldo quite clear. But pushed them very hard. But City I've said before, City look weaker than they did a few years ago. I think City are as weaker than they did a few years ago. I think the only team that is truly strengthened for me, just completely, is Chelsea. Even Manchester United have made some strange ones for me. I would have said they were stronger if they had gotten that midfield signing, Camavinga. That would have settled it for me. But Maguire looks shifty sometimes. Lindelof
was the best defender, maybe defender last year.
Yeah.
Look, I have to.
Interesting. Ruben Diaz.
How about we play that clip of him doing like this ball on a seal nose trick when they lost to Tottenham?
No. We don't need to defame the criminal.
Let's replay the clip where he steps on Michu Batshuayi's private section and doesn't get sent off for it, and then ends up scoring the winning header in that game.
Real world-class defender there. Real stand-up guy. The Greek police know he's a good man.
I don't think I can be debated on this one. I think he just genuinely. I think the statistics proved it. I don't have the stats on me right now. I think we should do it. We should do an episode, an OT. Stay tuned where we just talk about defense. But I think Harry Maguire's defensive statistics matched up with the best.
But and we'll talk about that. But unfortunately, we've got to start wrapping up now. But before we start getting to the closing section and do some quick fire stuff, where will Liverpool finish this season? I just want it quick. Matt?
4th or 5th.
Anthony?
4th.
I'm going 3rd. All right, easy enough. All right, now we've got some games to give some quick fire reactions for. We've got West Ham versus Southampton, Man United versus Newcastle, and Chelsea versus Aston Villa. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and go first. Hot take, I think West Ham are going to lose our game. And we're going to lose it 2-1 or something. I think we've had too good of a start. I think that this is one of those games that you just expect to win and don't. We'll lose this game and then beat Manchester United like 1-0 next week.
No, that's not happening. Sorry. I'm sorry, that's not happening.
All right, Anthony, Manchester United versus Newcastle.
I think it's going to be a really, really interesting game. I think Ronaldo's probably he's pretty much demanding a start, which he can. He can demand what he wants, don't care. Take everything I own. I think hot take, I think Ronaldo is going to score on his return debut. I think he's going to have a worldie of a game.
You better hope that happens. You better hope that happens.
Better pray that happens.
Expect something at the start of next video if it doesn't. We'll make him suffer for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Chelsea versus Aston Villa, Matt.
Chelsea versus Villa. Well, I reckon Villa going to put up a top performance, especially with Danny Ings' addition up front. I do reckon Chelsea will get over the hump against Villa. Score probably 2-1. I reckon Danny Ings bags a goal. My hot take, not to do with my team's game this week. I believe Arsenal won't keep a clean sheet against Norwich. this week.
Oh,
I think you're going to regret that, Matt.
I like that. I like it, though.
think
I
you're
like
gonna
it.
regret that.
I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
Norwich has scored in the Premier League this season, and Arsenal hasn't.
They have, all right, Norwich I don't trust. I would like to do a discussion on Norwich proper, but chances are it won't be worth it because they'll just go down this season. But,
it won't be worth
all right,
it. Waste your time.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I've been Jackson. This has been Matt and Anthony. We hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, give us a like, and check out content wherever you are, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and check out the other OT content, which will only be available on YouTube. And we'll see you guys later.
Thanks,
Catch you guys.